here goes nothing. Alright. The engine does not start. Please use the flowchart at the end of this manual. Alright, well, we're back again, and we're getting a little bit of work done on it. I have the fuel return line plumbed. Comes out of the injector, parallels the brake booster line for a little while. And okay, get under here a little bit. The transmission hasn't been running about a month, and it's leaking again because, of course. So, when she comes down out of there, ties together to the hard line. Got a couple of straps on the hard line up to my return, and that one is in. It's pretty darn stiff. I don't think it's gonna shake much. I don't think. Yeah, she's pretty tight. I got the right size clamps for everything. Got 5/8 for the braided line and 1/2-inch clamps for the hard line. So she's pretty stiff, but that's going pretty good. Now, gotta get off my butt and get the full fuel line, descend line set up. So the first thing I gotta do is make a mess. This cooler's gotta come off. I'm gonna do that and just plug those together and get it out of the way. Up there where the pipes are, that's gonna dump oil all over the place, but not like that's any different than what it's currently doing. And actually it looks like it's coming out of the rear, which means it's definitely over full because that should not see fluid. Anyway, but it's getting there. We're gonna had to rejigger the exhaust clamps a little bit because they were kind of in the way for the jacks. Right now I just got it on jack stands because it's a little easier to work along the rails without having the big jacks in the way. I gotta pull these little mounty things out that were used for the old fuel pump. Clear some room. I'm gonna go up over the top. Looks like I'm gonna have to zigzag around a brake line, kind of like I did over there, and bring her down to the back, connect it to the fuel pump, discharge, and run it all the way up. I think I'm gonna do like the other one though. I'll run the braided line down after I get this oil cooler out of the way and see where that's gonna be fit nicely. Once we do that, then we'll have an idea of how much hard pipe we need. So, we're getting there. After I get this line done, it's just wired up and pray. So, wish me luck. Alright, well, we've got the fuel lines in. They don't look too bad, but the air cleaner drop hat, as I kind of thought, doesn't work. I'm gonna have to get kind of a flat air cleaner hat because those lines coming out like that won't allow that 2-inch drop to settle properly. But no biggie. We'll sneak underneath and show you what we got. I put it up on jack stands off of the jacks just to give me a little bit more room to work. So here is the feed line, all strapped down to within 1 inch of its life, around the brake line, up over the axle, and into the filter. And we got, as we saw last time, our inlet, ball valve, filter, pump, and then the return that comes back here that we had done earlier, also tied down and sent up to the back of the intake or injector. Also got the oxygen sensor installed. That was a bit of a faff because I screwed up the threads, but got a chasing tool and she's good to go. That one there I chased, and it's good now in case I need to switch them at some point, or if I want to have it on a dyno and they can run their wideband in that one, which will be good. Now we're down to the wiring, and this is the original fuel pump positive, which I will need to significantly extend. Although it kind of goes around a wire up here, I don't really like how that works. I may pull it back there and unsnarl it, but I think I'm just going to parallel it down the fuel line all the way to the back and go from there. I'll be able to run a ground to the chassis back there for the pump, or I can run it straight to the battery because it's not that long a run. And then it's just going to be getting the rest of the wiring hooked up for the computer. Positive ground, keys, and all that other stuff, which already exists. I just got to figure out how it's going to get pumped in and get these last 3 connectors plugged in, because we've already got our temperature sender. I need to zip tie that a little bit better out of the way. Over there, O2 sensor wire is run. It ain't pretty, but it's about 80 feet long, so I just kind of made a big loop out of it because I'm certainly not going to cut it. And we're getting there. So I think the first thing I'm going to do now is extend the fuel pump wire, zip tie this little connector for the temperature sensor out of the way a little bit cleaner, and then we're going to have to open up the book because we're going to figure out where all the wires go for the rest of this mess. How we're going to get them through the firewall and all of that. So that's next. Alright, well, we got the fuel pump wired up. It's not pretty. I'll call it temporary for the moment. And I bumped it, just turned the key on quick enough, and I heard it. It sounded good. Didn't want to run it because it's dry, but we got her all run back here, so that'll give me enough to test it, I think. And it's getting kind of, well, it's not getting late, but I think I'm going to take a break for tonight, and we will come back tomorrow and fight with the rest of the wiring with a clear head. Maybe we can get this thing running tomorrow. Yeah, I'm pretty happy the fuel lines are run. I don't know, I thought that was going to be harder. It took a while. I'll tell you, to do this, to roadkill this stuff, you could have just run rubber hose and zip tied it and all of that. But I want this thing to be good for thousands and thousands of miles on the road without having to worry about it. So I'm trying to attach stuff a little better than I normally would and do a little bit more thinking up front. That's why I'm going to end up having to rerun that fuel pump wire, but I need to think about how I want to do that. If I want to put it into the car and run it out to the back or what. But for now, that'll allow me, I think, to get the car running. And we can go from there. But so far, I'm pretty happy with it. Looks pretty good. So, yeah, maybe we'll have this thing running tomorrow. We will see. Here's hoping. Alright, well, we're back again. Hopefully, we're getting somewhere with this. And today, I got some reading to do. Because it is time to electrify this mess, get some fuel in it, see if she's going to run. It's interesting to me that this looks like it may actually have its own fuel pump power. So that's kind of cool. Maybe I can tap into that off of the wire that's already in the car. I just got to find out where it goes through because it's already fused. But we may not need that, but we'll see. Bunch of little tiny wires. Nice loom. It's kind of handy. Little programmer. It's going to have to get snaked into the engine compartment somehow. Little zip ties and stuff to stick the case for the programmer somewhere. Coil driver. I don't know that I'm going to need this right off the bat because I think this is an old school distributor. We'll have to see what the instructions say. Thanks, cicadas. But yeah, so we're going to start some reading, open up some of this wiring stuff. And see what we got to do, where we want to run these wires. We will see. Alright, so I got a little ahead of myself. Got all the wiring hooked up. Looks like a rat nest right now because I want to make sure everything works and then I'll make it all pretty. But we got my pink wire going down to the switched ignition input side of the ballast resistor down there, which conveniently is through bolted behind the throttle pedal, so that's not too much fun. Got the coil negative and the coil negative here. That yellow wire is kind of short. And this tach signal back to the Dakota Digital used to be hooked directly to the coil negative, but there's a brown wire in one of the harnesses for exactly that, so I'm going to try to use that because then when I change this ignition it'll already be hooked up. So that's going to be my tach signal. As I said the other day, the oxygen sensor is hooked up, temperature sensor is hooked up, and the rest of the mess. Positive and ground straight to the battery, which is basically on the starter, because I don't know where Dad got it, but he's got some 5/8 diameter copper wire down there going to both sides of the starter, positive and negative, so that's as close, that's dead to the battery, so that's as close to the battery as I can get it. And then there's actually, what I didn't realize until I just found it, is this blue line is for the fuel pump. The Holly actually runs its own fuel pump, which is pleasant. So that line actually was long enough to run all the way to the back and tie into the fuel pump, which was absolutely beautiful. Here's that other harness with all of the timing controls and fan controls and all the other wacky controls, but right now all I'm using on it is this one here, this brown one, which should be for the tach signal into the car. Then we got the sniper unit here, which I turned on, it powered up right, I followed the steps to put a tune in it. You know, told it what side, what it was, and idle speed, 800 RPM, I guess, hot idle I put in it, 502 cubic inches, that it was just standard coil timing, it's not capacitive discharge or any of that other stuff, it's not going to do ignition timing control at this point, and hit start, and it uploaded a file, and the fuel pump turned on, so I immediately shut it off because I don't want to burn up the fuel pump, and went and got some fuel. So now, the fun part, I need to put fuel in it and check for leaks. So that's what we're going to do now. Alright, first 5 gallons going in. And then we'll give it a little bump and see if she leaks. This will be easier with a nozzle at a gas station than a 5-gallon can, but it does work. I don't see any inlet leaks on the discharge from the tank, which is pleasant. Alright, now we got fuel in it. Oop. The valve is open. That's the Holly wire. This is my other one. It's still going to be hot, but I just got it out of the way at this point. So now, everything looks dry to this point. So we're going to go hit the ignition and pray. I'm going to leave you right here because if anything happens, it might be entertaining. Let's go see what happens. heard it pressurized. It picked up. No leaks here, which is good. Let's go check the front. Ow. And that bumper. Let's go check the front. No leaks there. I don't think there's no way it could have put fuel all the way back through to return that fast, but we're gonna go cycle the key again and see what happens. I hear it blowing bubbles. So it's doing something. The fuel gauge isn't necessarily working. We'll do it again. Okay, that sounds bad. Oh dear. Okay. Oh boy. That's not good. Okay. Everything else looks pretty good, but that fitting there is displeased. So we're gonna mop this up quick and not set it on fire. Alright, so apparently sometimes it helps to use a wrench to tighten fittings. Who knew? And so we're going to cycle the key again and see if it still leaks. Let's hope not. Oh. Yeah, it is. Just a little bit. Now we got to go look at where. Alright, so compression side is dry. Seems to be coming out of the straight AN fitting, which is kind of a bummer because that was my last one. If that fitting's bad. Yeah, it looks like it's coming out up here. So we're going to pop that loose. Compression side looks good, looks dry. Maybe pop the end off of it and reseat it, see if that helps. Otherwise, that's kind of disappointing. So that's what we're going to try to do now. Alright, so we took the fitting apart, completely off of the hose. Didn't see anything wrong with it, but we just reseated everything and cranked the snot out of it. I just cycled the key 3 times. Looks like we may be back in business. So I want to put this mess back together, clean this disaster up a little bit, and get rid of all these gasoline fumes if I can. And then we're going to maybe try to start this thing. We'll see. Alright, I found one other little seep just up here on the high pressure side. Crank those down a little bit. Seems to have stopped. So now we're going to take it to the next steps, which means I do have fuel pressure. So, what do we got? For starting, yep, hear the fuel pump run. Great time to check for fuel leaks. Yep. Alright, so we're going to turn that back on. Alright. Select the monitor icon. monitor's screen. Initial startup. Engine RPM is stall, that is correct. TPS at 0. Yeah, only got the 98. Yeah, that'll do. Close enough. Should read between 85 and 100% at wide open. Okay, it does. Map, 102 kPa. Should be 85 to 95 to 102. Good. Coolant temperature sensor, 97. That's probably pretty darn close. IAC, 9%. Battery, 12.8. Good. Okay, everything looks good there. Double check for leaks. Already did. Verify the wiring, handheld wizard, run, fuel pressure. Well, I don't have a way to verify it, but we're gonna send it. The handheld's still in the initial startup screen. Crank the engine and look for an RPM parameter. It should change to sinking, indicating the ECU is sinking. Engine should fire and come to an idle. Okay, well, here goes nothing. Alright, the engine does not start. Please use the flowchart at the end of this manual. It was reading. Alright, so we're going to try that again. Okay, on to the flowchart. Okay, I'm stupid. And I'm sure any of you who've ever done this before have seen what I've done and been screaming. I got the fuel lines backwards. This is the inlet, and that's the return. So that explains why there's no fuel getting to it. Sigh. Ugh, Jesus Christ. Oh, hell's bells. I don't know that I don't think these lines are long enough to cross over like that, given the way I've run everything. Oh, darn it. Oh, heck. That's annoying and embarrassing, but yeah, that's why it's not running. Everything else is good. So, God, that's what happens when you don't think too much when you're reading it. Son of a gun. Well, at least it'll let me correct the leak over there on the inlet return side. Yeah. Fudge. I'll be back at some point. Whatever. Alright, we're back again. Got the lines swapped. Leak check. Alright, I don't see any immediate leaks. Looks good up here. Fuel pump actually sounds a little more intelligent. So, contact. Yeah, buddy. looks good right now. Smells pretty good. I don't see any leaks, again, still.